right. Give it a second to breathe. Get all the channels up. Check, 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 check. And there we go. What is up, Broncos country? It's a Wednesday night, which means it's time for MHI with Thomas Hall and yours truly. Tom, what's up, man?
Still on the road, man, but I'm almost done. And so I'm coming at you from a hotel conference room, which is
Ooh.
it's interesting. So hopefully that goes well. But yeah, the drive today though, man, oh, what a mess. I'll tell you, I think that they should reopen Alcatraz just for the people that hang out in the left lane and don't get over. You know what I mean?
Oh man, I absolutely coming off the top rope early. I absolutely love it. No, man, it's traffic is tough. Working from home, I only really kind of commute during training camp and the limited access that I'm given to for the Denver Broncos Centura Health Training Center. Things are locked down over there, man. So
Yeah.
not a lot of traffic for me lately. I'm hoping it changes as we're wrapping mini camp up, but traffic training camp wise can be a little brutal now, especially with Sean Payton in the house, anticipating a heavy crowd. So be ready to fight some traffic with me, baby, at training
Got to
camp
get
this
there
summer.
early. Get there
That's
early.
right. Get there early, folks. It's going to be fun. But before we get to training camp, guys, today we've got to talk Broncos mini camp. All right. It was day 2 in the books. Sean Payton, the new rule, the new law of the land, if you will. Definitely making a good impression on Broncos country. We'll talk a little bit about what coach had to say, but the bigger news of the day, Vance Joseph, quote, we're back. He is back. He was back at the podium today, folks. That's right. I'm not pulling your leg here. Don't wait for the punchline. Vance Joseph, defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos. I don't want to say he was introduced because we already know coach, but it's the first public appearance that we saw of Vance Joseph since Sean Payton has had things locked down, radio silent over there at Centura Health Training Center, Tom.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I wouldn't. I've done it myself. I wouldn't, get after anybody for being a little bit on the fence with Vance Joseph after his stint in Denver, and I am as well. So it will really be interesting. And I said this the other day. It will be very interesting to see how much Sean Payton rubs off on Vance Joseph, and maybe we'll see a bit of a change throughout the season through his press conferences, how he does things. And because it's important to have a good coach who can kind of show you the way to do things, because he was in over his head to start. So it will be interesting to see this press conference compared to the press conferences of the past, and then as the year goes on, how does he handle himself? I think it'll be interesting.
Interesting to be sure, because neither one of us were over the moon with the hire. I don't think anybody particularly was, other than Vance Joseph here in Broncos country when coach was officially named defensive coordinator under Sean Payton's staff. However, being a huge Sean Payton fan and advocating for Sean Payton as the number 1 head coach for your Denver Broncos, I got to roll with Sean on this one, man. Coach knows best. He knows better than I do. That's for damn sure. Dominique Martin coming in saying MHH for life. Go Broncos. Of course, our very own DVA encourages everybody to make sure you hit that like button on the way in and share. I've got to get to our guy, David, man, in the live stream before we're live at all. Pre-gaming,
right?
MHI on his Wednesday night. David, a huge friend of the show. Thank you, brother. Generous $5. Good evening, Broncos country. Luke, Tom, Dylan, and Deacon Scott. Getting really excited, and I cannot help myself. Hashtag MHH for life. Buckham, Denver Broncos for life. David, we can't help ourselves either, man. That's why we have podcasts every single night of the week. That's why we have a no subscription, milehighhuddle.com article publication that you can go to at your leisure. Again, that's milehighhuddle.com. Follow us on Twitter at milehighhuddle. And David, you're exactly right, man. Things are getting exciting. We're in the middle of June, fellas. I mean, Tom, David, Broncos country, we are so close to these guys taking a little break. After Friday, minicamp is over, folks. And speaking of that, Coach Sean Payton had the longest practice of his tenure as Broncos coach today, about 2.5 hours. That's per good old Mike Kliss. And that's interesting as well, because there's also been that notification from head coach Sean Payton, if you will, that it's not going to be let's jack around the next 2 days and play field day, much
Right.
like the Broncos have in the past. He said, quote, we're going to practice, no goofy stuff. And I absolutely love it because that is what this team needs.
Well, I mean, they've got to do something different after the last few years for sure. So if they were off having fun and maybe this will change it up, who knows? Something's got to change. And hopefully this new philosophy, it's not just not going and having fun, going bowling or whatever. It's actually a whole new philosophy and bringing that philosophy onto the field. That's what's important. And that's what he's trying to instill, right? And you can't do that first year coach. Maybe in his third year, he could, go have a field day or whatever. But first year, it's all business because that has to get implemented and bought into really through now and through training camp. Because once you hit preseason, you better be bought in or you are out.
You can't get into Club Dub. That's right. Sean Payton's very own club, Club Dub, the Saints. For those of you who don't know what Club Dub is, it's my favorite thing ever, and I'm never going to stop talking about it. Club Dub was an audio system that Sean Payton went to the New Orleans Saints ownership and said, I want this. I want other teams to hear our team celebrating when we're on the road, and we're going to call it Club Dub. And it's got me thinking ever since he said that. I mean, Sean Payton knows how to have fun with these guys, folks. Make no mistake about that. He understands when you can have fun. And you know what's fun? Winning football games. Streaks against the Kansas City Chiefs, against the Raiders. That's right, folks. The Raiders have had the Broncos number for quite a while now. I mean, this bleep, I almost just cursed, has to end. And Broncos country is sick of it. And speaking of Broncos country, our very own Troy coming in here, $9.99 super. Thank you so much for all the support, Troy. Hey, guys, any news on how Miss is doing?
I think he means Moss.
Riley Moss. Okay, Riley Moss. Yeah. My dad actually asked about Riley Moss too today. We were just on the phone and we're talking about, of course, our subject, which we're going to get to, Vance Joseph. Quote, we're back. He was back today at the podium. Kind of first new opportunity to see Vance in his new duties as defensive coordinator. And yeah, Riley Moss. People want to know about Riley Moss. I haven't heard anything specific, but that's nothing new because as I just said into this microphone, Sean Payton is very restrictive on what information is being allowed to be viewed, seen, talked about, regurgitated, tweeted, what have you. It's coach's way.
Yeah, and there's been some sound bites, right? A few days ago, Josie Jewell was talking about Riley Moss having a good day. Jerry Judy's kind of sung his praises a few times. So I think the talk that the little sound bites that you do get here and there, people talking about it, what people said, that he's doing well. I mean, but you have to also say he's a rookie. He's going to have a pretty big obstacle, pretty big leap into the NFL, no matter what his potential is. So it's nice to hear good things coming out about him, when you can glean it. But you're right. There's not a lot of chatter. It's only bits and pieces. But from what I've heard and what we're kind of hearing in the past couple weeks, he's doing fine. He's looking good. People are impressed.
Yeah, man. It's one of those things. Hey, rookie, know your role. Period. Yeah. And there's something to be said for rookies, should be seen, not heard in that first season. And guys understand that. And he's got to make the team. I mean, nothing's guaranteed, right? I don't see the Broncos cutting Riley Moss. No way. In fact, I think Riley Moss is gonna possibly, just potentially, maybe earn AFC Special Teams Player of the Week. He's got that kind of a potential to impact the game. I think he's going to make his presence felt, and it's going to be tough to get past some of these really good defensive backs. K'Waun Williams, man, one of my favorite players, right? You're not going to jump over this guy anytime soon, but injuries happen, and sometimes you're thrust into a new role, and it's exciting to see potential from these new DBs. Speaking of DBs, Pat Surtain, I don't know if you heard out there on the East Coast, Tom. Pat Surtain was returning punts yesterday. Guess whose call that was?
Yeah, that must have been Sean Payton, but I don't know, man. That makes me pretty nervous, especially when you went out and got a couple people who are special teamers, right? But maybe it was for fun, but I definitely don't want the number one cornerback fielding punts and returning it when you have Riley Moss or somebody else that you can bring in to
You have
do it.
Montreal Washington, Tom. You could do it
put
with
him back in there. Give him another shot. I'm still on the Montreal Washington bandwagon. I think he's gonna get it together. He needed to be developed, man. He needed to develop, and he can turn it around. I'm rooting for him for sure.
Oh, you're the only one. Michaela Israel coming in here, generous $5 super. Thanks, Michaela. Appreciate you and Cooper. Hope you guys are doing so well. Good evening, Broncos country. Hashtag MHH for life. Looking forward to meeting you guys at the MHH meet and greet on week 7, Michaela and Cooper against the Green Bay Packers here in Broncos country. Again, guys, come on out, say what's up, hang out with some of your favorite podcast hosts. We're going to have some writers in the house from MHH as well. Scott will be there, Chad, Zach, yours truly, MHI. It's going to be a lot of fun. But before we get there, training camp is going to be fun too. You're going to hear us promoting this and talking with you guys because we want to see you there. Broncos training camp is usually starting, what, Tom, end of July, somewhere around 24th, 25th-ish is traditionally when training camp kicks off. We're going to have a lot of special content coming your way, guys. So thank you very much for the support, Michaela and Broncos country. We're super, super pumped for this next coming season, MHI. I mean, Tom, we've only been together a short period here on MHI, but I feel like we're really eyeing a special season for this show.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. We started back, I think, was it mid-January or early February, something like that. So it's only been a few months, and we haven't had a season together. So I think there's a lot to come, man. I think it's going to be fun. And I think the big stuff's going to start when we're out there in training camp, right? Out there sweating our tails off, bringing you insightful information that other people can't bring you, right? We're in our own perspective. You have your own, I have my own. It'll be fun. And if you're out there, come say hi, but hopefully there's going to be at least, there's usually 10 or 12, right? Open to the public. So it'll be good.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and then I try to get credentialed because you can kind of pick a limited amount of days, especially now with Sean Payton too, because the national media, man, they're here. Like Sean Payton, Russell Wilson, shocker, it's a national story, right? I try to save those credentialed days for joint practice because that time everybody's out there and you get to see some really interesting things. It's what you get to hear a little bit more than what you could see on the sideline where media is at. It's interesting, the difference, because you could definitely see training camp way better sitting on the hill. And that's where we're going to be, man. And it's funny. We've talked about it. You never know who you're going to see on the hill too. Broncos Ring of Famers, legends, Super Bowl champs, current Denver media. I mean, come on out and say hello. It's going to be a lot of fun. Isaiah coming in, Broncos country. How we feeling? We're feeling excited, man. And we're also excited. Huge congratulations is in order to the Denver freaking Nuggets. I never thought I would see it in my lifetime, Tom. And I found myself welling up with tears a little bit and celebrating with my wife and my daughter. The parade in the Mile High City is tomorrow. What a special, special week for Denver.
Yeah, it's been pretty good for, Broncos country in general or Denver in general. You got the Avs last year. You got the Nuggets this year. Got some, pretty good potential for the Broncos maybe to turn it around. So you might see a good couple runs. The Avs aren't bad and the Nuggets have a good team. So, it might be one of those things where you see a few more kind of trickle in the next few years, hopefully. That'll be good for Denver.
No, it's going to be huge. And you had Broncos in the house to watch it was game 5, right? And I mean, you had Sean Payton there. You had Russell Wilson there. Russell Wilson was with his wife, Sierra. Peyton Manning, the sheriff, was in the house, of course, right? Sure. But Sean Payton, when you've got the pressure's on, right? It's all anybody can talk about now, the Broncos, because there's nothing going on. And no offense to you Rockies fans, there's like 3 of you out there, but the Rockies aren't doing diddly. They don't ever do diddly, and they're never going to do diddly because their owner just cannot figure things out. So everyone's focus is now on the Denver Broncos. This is kind of becoming, I don't want to say title town, but the trophies are starting to stack up here in the Mile High City. And the trophy that is always at the highest peak on that mantle, the one that is just shines a little bit brighter than the rest, it's definitely worth its weight in gold and then some. It's the Lombardi Trophy, Tom. Yep. I mean, there is nothing like those 3 Lombardi trophies over there at Centura Health Training Center, man. It's a thing of beauty.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, that's the pinnacle for many people. I know I don't want to diminish the Avs or the Nuggets now. I mean, the winning a championship is very hard, but you're right. It all revolves around the football team, and we're gonna watch them get better with Sean Payton, regardless of how I feel about him as a person. He's gonna coach this team better. So that.
Easy, Jesus. Man, Tom, you just coming out hating on Sean Payton, man. Bounty
No,
gate.
no.
We
I
get it, Tom.
No. I said he served his time. He was suspended for a year. Hopefully he learned his lesson kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, when it comes down to winning football games, that they're primed to start winning some football games. I think they have the players in line. They're building a pretty good team. They got some young players that are coming up. You're going to watch, people were bad mouthing a little bit about that draft last year, but you're going to watch two defensive linemen playing a pretty sizable role, a cornerback drafted out of that class last year that's going to play a sizable role. You're going to see some of these people step up, and there's going to be a young nucleus of that team coming together. I think it's a good future. They just need to make sure Russell Wilson takes that step back to where he was for the next few years, and I think there's a lot of potential on this team.
A lot of potential and a lot of expectations. Our guy Michael Rinquillo coming in from Arizona. What's up, Mike? Hopefully you're doing well, enjoying that Nuggets win, brother. Good evening, Thomas Hall and Luke on the Mile High Insiders. Go Broncos and buck 'em. Michael, thank you so much for all of your support again with us since day one, since the show started, and we really, really appreciate your friendship and all of your support. Guys, you're not obligated to. We appreciate everybody for spending their time with us, but if you are able to and feel inclined to, super chats definitely and Facebook stars help us keep the lights on here at Mile High Huddle and MHI specifically during the off season. It also allows your comment, whatever that be, a question, a hot take, it bumps you guys to the front of the line. So definitely want to disclose that moving forward in the show, because as the season heats up, there are going to be a lot of questions, especially around training camp, on what we're seeing, things like that. And we love to try to get at everybody in this show. But if we don't, message us privately on Twitter. Tom will write you back. I'll write you back. That's at Thomas Hall NFL on Twitter. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. We would greatly appreciate a follow on the show. That's at MHI_pod. And send us your questions via DM. It doesn't have to cost you anything or anything like that. We're just super pumped to be talking about, hopefully, fingers crossed, relevant football in the Mile High City, Tom.
It's coming. It can't be this bad for much longer. So it's coming. I'm excited. I think it's going to start in training camp, because you and I were out there and we saw the practices, and then we're going to have another same vantage point of a different type of practice. And I think we're going to come away a little bit more pleased with how those are run, how things are going. And so I'm excited, man. I'm going to be up there on the grass with you with my spotting scope and my notebook, and it's going to be fun. But you're going to see a totally different practice, and from my perspective, that's going to imply a better season based on what I saw from last year,
which was garbage. Last year's training camp was horrible. The training camp before that was horrible. It's been bad. All right. It's been bad. Finally, there's an adult in the room, and we're all very, very happy for it. Keith Brugman, one of our dudes. What's up, Keith? Hopefully you're doing well, man. Again, another one of our guys that's been with us since the show started. Happy birthday, Frank Clark? Question mark. Yeah, I saw that today. It was Frank Clark's birthday. Happy birthday to Frank Clark. It might surprise some people that I'm saying that, because I wasn't through the moon with the Frank Clark signing. I'm not outraged. I'm not upset. I just feel like the Denver Broncos could have gotten a better pass rusher in Unique Ngakoue. I liked him a lot. We've talked about him on this show. For me, it's some of the checkered past of Frank Clark that bothers me a little bit. I do know that he's getting up there in age. That doesn't mean this is a bad signing. I just would have preferred another pass rusher. However, what the hell do I know? I've never been a defensive coordinator. I've never been in the NFL. If Sean Payton says Frank Clark can play, damn it, he's going to play, especially at the outside linebacker position.
Yeah, and the intangible he brings, just like the fullback that they signed from Kansas City, is a championship mentality, right? They just won a championship, and Andy Reid has won 2 in the last few years. So there's a championship mentality that they're going to bring, right? All the other stuff aside, that's important. Those are intangibles. Frank Clark that's a championship mentality. Burton front there at the fullback. When we saw it back in 1997, when Romanowski came on board, had that championship mentality, maybe a little bit different. He'd been there San Francisco longer, but he brought a different edge. And so I'm hoping that translates here. And I think that's maybe why Sean Payton chose him over somebody else, because that's an intangible that hopefully he can bring. Now, the person that he seems to be, I don't know if that matters, but we'll see. Romanowski wasn't a nice guy either.
No, you're right, but you're trying to change a culture, right? You're trying to change a culture, and I get that you can't stay up at night worrying about guys getting arrested, right? What's going to happen is going to happen, and you just hope and pray for the best, and you hope that the culture you're trying to instill rubs off on these guys. I'm not saying I expect Frank Clark to get in trouble. Would it surprise me? Probably not. I'm not rooting for it. I hope that he has a great tenure here with the Broncos. I just don't necessarily buy into the championship mentality with Frank Clark. I get that he's a good football player, but that's also being a byproduct of playing with Pat Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. It's a team sport. I get it. I can't take away any of Frank Clark's championship rings or his success in the NFL, and I won't try to do it. I guess we should be happy, right? We've been moaning, if you will. You want to clean it up for podcasting about the Broncos getting an edge defender. Well, boom, there we go. There's an edge defender. David coming back in, one of our defenders here of MHI, $2 super. Thanks, David. Someone get Thomas a Trust in Payton t-shirt. That's what I'm saying, David. I mean, Thomas, you're kind of hedging your bets on my guy a little bit. Like, you're excited, but you're not like super excited, and you like him, but then you also kind of want to kill him. And we're very confused here on MHI.
From a football perspective, on the field, I'm bought in. I think he's a great coach. I've said that before. I think he, winning games is one of the most important things to him. And if you're a football team, that's what you got to do. I'm not hating on Payton as far as what he can do for the Denver Broncos football club. He's going to make them winners. I just, I've been excited the last couple of years, and
yeah. I hear you. I know, man. It's you're a glutton for punishment, right? That's all of us here in Broncos country, at least. You represent a good, healthy base of all the fans here in Broncos country when you say that. I mean, we've been building up the off seasons every off season, and it's how many Super Bowls since 2015? It's kind of tough when you look at those things. But the Nuggets winning the championship definitely notched that pressure up, as if it couldn't go up anymore here in the Mile High City. Mike S. coming in. Would love that shirt, David. Mike, how dare you talk about the show being late too, by the way, which was my fault. Mike's in the chat being like, what was up with the delay? Mike, it was 3 minutes, man. Busting my chops. Mike's one of our guys, dude. Mike's been supporting us since the beginning. Yeah. I always say your best friend's a guy that challenges you, and Mike likes to challenge me. I'm not challenge him right back. We appreciate you, Mike. No, it was my bad. Scott's taking the night off, so I was trying to figure out the Facebook stars, because you would think at 32 years old I'd be okay with technology. I'm not the best. I just got the new iPhone 14, so Mike, forgive me. I'm catching up. I realized how far I was behind. I had the iPhone 8 and went from the 8 to the 14. So, a good 6 generations of phones, and I'm starting to catch up.
I like those the better, though. They're so small. These new ones are so big. You can't put them in your pocket very easy. So I like the little ones, man. It's too big. Yeah, no, I'd go back. Talk about going back to old school. I'd go back even farther back, man, if I could.
Oh no, you want to get all right. The Nokia was dope. I'll give you that. The Nokia, the flip phone. I didn't start with, but I really liked the BlackBerry, with the little keyboard and everything, but it had that mystical wizard's ball in the middle that would always get crud in it and fail. And I don't know, man. But Mike, forgive me, please, for the 3-minute delay. We're trying to make it up here on MHI. We just appreciate you guys joining the show every Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Mountain. Get it yours truly at Luke Patterson LP, at Thomas Hall NFL. And you can also catch Thomas on 2 of our other shows here on MHH. That's right. 7 days a week. And Thomas is rocking 3 of those days. Wednesday night with us here on MHI, 6 p.m. Mountain. You've got Legends of Mile High on Friday mornings, and then Orange and Blue View with Ron White on Saturday night. That rhymed. And it sounded so good. So please be sure to get at Thomas on the rest of his shows as well. Let's get to the subject at hand. That's Vance Joseph. Quote, "We're back." He coined that phrase, and he will always have it. I want to see a Vance Joseph "We're back" shirt. Maybe I could try to wear one of those before I get myself kicked out of a credentialed Broncos practice this training camp. But Coach was asked a couple of good questions, right? And a lot of bad questions out there, and it drives me crazy when you could throw up a softball question while at the same time being respectful. It's the questions that are just kind of wasting my time that drives me absolutely nuts. But Broncos country was eager to see Vance Joseph, Tom. They were trying to see what's the deal with this guy. He's back. No pun intended.
Yeah.
But what's that look like? And Mike Kliss came at him right away and asked, did you have to kind of put your pride aside? Did you have to put some feelings aside? And coming back to Denver, and Vance Joseph had a very classy, elegant, and honest answer saying, quote, "It was a fair process. It's a league of winning. So if you don't win, there's going to be change. It was never personal for me. I came here and I worked my butt off, and it just didn't work. I'm back now, and my focus is to play great defense for Sean Payton and to win games. I've never had it in my heart leaving here 4 years ago." And Coach also referenced to Vance Joseph that he kept his home here in Colorado, right? Again, has Colorado roots, went to CU up the road in Boulder, kept that here, and then talked about how he did have other opportunities after he was dismissed as the defensive coordinator at Arizona. Remember those rumors, Vance Joseph possibly to Philly? I mean, that would have been huge for Vance Joseph. He ultimately chose Denver. And I believe Coach when he said that there's no ego up there. Vance Joseph, at first glance, I wasn't there at the press conference today, but at first glance, looking at Vance Joseph, he looked comfortable. He looked thankful. He was honest, and he had a very good Vance Joseph energy to him. He didn't say it was a great practice or anything like that. So let's just, nix those jokes real quick. But I was welcoming and pleasantly surprised at how Vance Joseph did today. I didn't know what to expect, but I think Coach was very honest, and he was very, very appreciative to Sean Payton for this opportunity.
Yeah, and I think the answer was great. I mean, for the question, that was a great answer. I mean, you couldn't really have answered it any better because, a lot of people, like you said, ego gets in the way. They'll, maybe they'll say something that, kind of gives a shot at the old leadership there or something. But, Vance Joseph came in, said what he needed to say. It was a good answer. And it actually showed that he's kind of advanced a little bit in my mind from what we saw back when he was the head coach of Denver. So you can't, I'll be the first one. You can't just say, oh, he gave one answer and now let's jump on the bandwagon. But, that's a sign of progression, a sign of growth. And that's what needs to happen for Vance Joseph. In my mind, he needs to keep getting better. And I think he's going to learn and get better. David, thank you for the super chat talking about the bag phone. Yeah, actually, I've got a whole thing that I want to do that's even farther back. So it has to do with the rotary phone, and I'm going to do it in my 79 Ford. So I have a rotary phone as a cell phone kind of thing. So that's going to happen.
No, that's awesome, man. Yeah, I like what's up, Carol? She loved that comment from David too. David, man, David's a character. I tell you what, man, he gets the chat going, and we've always got a really fun chat. Broncos country, if you haven't, come on in the live chat here on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you get this podcast. Fire away a question, a comment. Doesn't have to be a super chat. Again, that super chat gets you to the front of the line. However, we try to make sure that we answer people's questions. And I see a lot of talk right now about Pat Surtain returning punts. We briefly touched on that yesterday. That was head coach Sean Payton's call. Surprise, surprise. But there's a little bit of a debate, as you mentioned, you weren't particularly thrilled with the move. I don't think you're going to see Pat Surtain out there doing it. But if you have a Montreal Washington situation and another guy's just not doing well and you need a surefire ace in the hole, it sure as hell is good to know that you've got Pat Surtain. I mean, I'd be shocked at what the guy can't do out there. He's just a generational talent. And Vance Joseph talked about Pat Surtain today. saying, quote, he's special. His special trait is his intelligence. He also called him a prototypical cornerback with size and the ability to play the ball, to tackle, all his different special talents. But speaking again on that intelligence, on being prepared, on just knowing the game of football, that's the type of stuff that gets me excited. Vance Joseph reuniting with Josie Jewell, Justin Simmons. He coached Kareem Jackson in Houston. So it's kind of cool to see there are still a few players remaining from Vance Joseph's former defense, or at least he's had an opportunity to coach these guys. And the big takeaway I got from Vance Joseph in terms of X's and O's today, folks, Dom coming in real quick too, saying Champ Bailey returned punts. Man, do you remember when Champ Bailey would beg Mike Shanahan to get in there and play wide receiver and
Yeah.
stuff like that? Just a quick tangent on Champ Bailey. I saw Dom's comment in there and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude,
He wanted to.
felt like yesterday.
He did it. He did it a few times, but towards after a few years in the league, he stopped doing it. But yeah, I remember I remember him being out there on offense. He wanted to play both ways, because he can contribute. I mean, the guy's a superior athlete. So, and he did it in college. But you don't want your number one guy out there fooling around if you don't have to have him. And that's the thing about Pat Surtain catching punts. It could be a situation going back to old school, back when they brought Jim Leonard in. They had a dynamic punt returner, but wasn't sure-handed all the time. But Jim Leonard always caught it, never fumbled, and that's what they needed, right? So maybe it's a situation where they're like, we know you're always going to catch the ball, just go fair catch it and don't fumble.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. And Vance is definitely at an advantage having a guy like Pat Surtain on the team. But listening, like I was talking about just a second ago before I got off on my Champ Bailey rant, I'm a sucker for Champ Bailey. All right. Like I am, and I always will be. So when I see Champ in the chat, you're probably going to get me hook, line, and sinker. Coach Vance Joseph talked today about looking for different ways to do things. He talked about marriage. No, not like traditional marriage or, spouses or partners, anything like that. He talked about trying to marrying defenses, if you will. He tried to talk about taking elements from Vic Fangio, from Ejiro Evero, and his own defense. He wants to keep this defense's strengths intact while also evolving. He talked a lot about his assistant coaches, some that were held over from the previous defense and coaching staff. Coach Parker is one of those guys. And Coach Sean Payton's talked about it. He prides himself on saying, we've got a little bit of old, a little bit of new, and we're constantly trying to evolve together. Sean Payton called Vance Joseph, quote, saying, I think he's an extremely good leader. That's today. He said, with Vance's calmness, he's a very good communicator. And I thought that was fascinating because you just talked about Vance Joseph possibly evolving, not only as a coach, but as a man. Sean Payton seemingly signing off on that evolution.
Yeah. And that's important. And, but the main thing is, can he make this defense good enough, right? That's where the big question has to be. Can he coach this defense to as good as what Evero had done, right? It's a pretty close to the same defense. I mean, there's been a few changes, but Evero, until injuries happened, had that defense playing top five, right? They were an elite defense to start that season. And then the injuries took its toll. If Vance Joseph can get anywhere close to that, I'm going to jump on board, right? But there's the players are there for him to have a good defense. So he's got, regardless of what he can say or evolve as a person, he has to be able to make those game plans and make those little adjustments during the game in order for them to, to stop the offense when it's necessary, right? He has to, and
Exactly.
That's to judge him first and foremost once the season starts. And if if the defense is somewhere in the 20th, then he's a failure.
It's not a failure. Our community here at MHH,
That's
man,
right.
This is a huge success because of all the positive energy, support, love, everything that Broncos country has to give here at MHH, specifically MHI, and having some people answer our call of duty, so to speak, joining the show for a very first time. I want to shout some of those folks out. Dominic Armio was in there right away saying he's listening and he's coming to the YouTube chat. And then CADCon's coming in here as well. And I want to give you guys a shout out. I want the rest of the MHH community to jump these guys in. Wolfpack them with all kinds of MHH orange and blue love. And let's give you guys a shout out. CADCon, welcome to the show. I'm from Kentucky and have been watching the pod for almost 2 years now while I'm eating dinner. Do you guys have any thoughts on the fight at practice today? After the team seeming so lethargic last year, I love the intensity. Tom, I wasn't aware there was a little scrap today at practice. Do you?
Yeah, I kind of saw something about a little scrap, but I don't know who it was between. But like you just said, CanCon, there's going to be some more intensity. People know they're fighting for their jobs, and that can get
Literally
tempers
now.
flaring. Think about it, though. Sean Payton's already put people on notice. If you're not buying in and you're not going out and doing what it takes, you're not going to be on this football team. And when people, fights, it happens, right? These people are smacking each other around, intense game. It does happen, but it just shows you it's already starting. People are already getting to the point where they know their jobs are on the line. And I'm talking veterans too. And we can talk about a veteran that we had chatted before this show started. There's some people who are really nervous about making this team.
They should be. They're so nervous that they're making huge life decisions outside of football, and we will touch on that. Excellent tease. Everybody loves a tease. Patrick Wiltsey coming in here. I love this. Longtime listener, first time chatter. Patrick, man, I could tell you've listened to radio your whole life, dude. I grew up on radio. That's why I got into podcasting. I've done a little bit of radio here in the Mile High City. Some segments, hosted a show last year. I've had a lot of fun with it, man, but listening to radio is still one of my favorite things. It's a dying art, if you will, and I hate to say that. Just because the podcast has changed everything. Digital media has changed everything. But Patrick, I love it. Longtime listener, first time chatter. And if that is you, if you're new to the show here on MHI, come on over to the live thread. We'll give you a shout out. And I would love for you to represent Patrick's line here. Longtime listener, first time chatter. Right. We will read that on this show and get you out there. I wanted to get a question from my guy, String Cheese. Where are we at here? Yeah, String Guy. My bad, dude. It wasn't Tom Hayton. It was talking about, String Guy saying, yeah, Luke, I'll believe it when I see it. A good press conference is fine, but I can't jump on the VJ bandwagon until he proves he can coach top 10 defense. Yeah. That would be great, man. I hear you. I'm not trying to say go out there and become Vance Joseph's #1 follower on Twitter and get at coach and love him and ask for his autograph at camp. I'm not asking for any of that. I'm just saying so far, so good. Speaking of so far, so good, our guy, GLP, Gary Leeds Palmer in the house, a $9.99 super. Thank you so much, Gary. Hey, Thomas, Luke, and Scott. I like what Vance Joseph had to say about blending the new with the old. Go Broncos, #Buckham.
Well, yeah, I mean, if he is actually doing it, people say things, right? But and thank you, Gary. Sorry, I jumped into
People say things. AKA,
people say things.
Is Vance
but
Joseph
they don't back
lying?
Them up. If they don't back him up, then it doesn't mean diddly. But if he actually is trying to progress and blending in new and old and trying to create something, his own that takes some of these greats, that's perfect. I mean, people
he is, Tom. He is. Sean Payton pays attention to the defense. That's I'm not. Yeah,
no, it's true.
Trust me, I am not standing up for Vance freaking Joseph. I am happy that it started well today. But when Sean Payton comes out today and he's saying, "quote," I think he's an extremely good leader. With Vance's calmness, with him, he's a very good communicator. When he says he's an extremely good leader, I'm scratching my head like, are we talking about the same guy that was, shaking at the press conference when he was introduced as head coach? Are we talking about the same guy that lost control of this football team and spiraled out of control? And we are, right? So I guess as Sean Payton goes, Vance Joseph goes.
What we need is a T-shirt that says, I'm not trying to defend Vance Joseph, but that's what we need.
I'm not a VJ defender, but I absolutely love it. If you have a T-shirt idea here at MHI, give us a shout out, man. We're all about the T-shirt company here at MHI. Kenny Abeta, thank you so much for joining the show. A very generous $5 super. Good evening, fellas. What did I miss tonight?
Well, You missed
Tom
some
hates
stuff.
Sean Payton. You missed that. He doesn't like Sean Payton. He's happy with Sean Payton, the coach. He wouldn't go to church with Sean Payton, the man. No, just all jokes aside. Today was day 2 of minicamp, right? Minicamp's going to wrap up on Friday. Sean Payton pretty much said that, look, we're not having a field day. No goofy things like that or anything. We're here to work. We're here to practice. Kenny, it was a long practice today, man.
Yeah.
Per Mike Kliss, it was about 2.5 hours. That definitely marks the longest practice than most of the Sean Payton practices, OTAs, whatever you want to call them. There were also some cool little tidbits, Kenny, in Broncos country. Greek was there. Elway was there. Carl Mecklenburg was there today, I saw. That was kind of interesting.
Man.
Yesterday, Pat Surtain returning punts. You had some homage being paid to the late, great kicker that had just passed away, Tom,
Sure.
right? I mean, Coach talked about this kicking style. Did you know anything about that yesterday? Because I was shocked when I learned
I was
about
traveling,
this.
so I didn't get to hear it. I didn't get to hear what he had said. So if you tell me, maybe I'll know what he's talking about. But I didn't.
Yeah. So the gentleman that just passed away, Ring of Famer Jim Turner, God rest his soul, right? And thoughts and prayers to his family. Broncos country loves this guy. Yeah, he's a Ring of Famer, right? I mean, what greater honor in the city than to be a Ring of Famer for your Denver Broncos? He kicked the ball in like a weird position. And what I mean by that, it was placed directly behind the center, if you will. It's some weird little thing in NFL history. You had damn well better look into this for your show on Friday morning, maybe, I don't know. I'm an idea man. I'm talking through things. But Sean Payton talked about that yesterday, how some of the centers and the O-linemen were worried that they were just going to get drilled in the butt with one of these footballs from their kickers. They're still having tryouts, speaking of kickers. Former Tennessee Titans kicker Randy Bullock is in the Mile High City, apparently trying out for the Broncos. So finding a Brandon McManus replacement all these 2-3 weeks later, not as easy as maybe we thought.
Yeah, you make that move without something already kind of in your pocket, then you're kind of scrambling, right? And unfortunately, it happened a little late. And I kept saying, if they were going to do that, why didn't they try, if it was in their mind, try and grab a late round kicker or try and go sign somebody. It was an odd thing all around, but now they're scrambling. So it is definitely one of those things where they know they need a good kicker, but they didn't want to pay Brandon McManus to do it. So now they got to find somebody who can hopefully fill those shoes.
We'll find it. We'll figure it out. We've got time. Training camp is, it's a kicker here. We're not talking about developing, any franchise stars. We don't mean to disrespect kickers, right? You need a kicker, period. Brandon McManus, huge part of the Super Bowl 50 run. Can't take that away from the man ever. Elliott is crazy. I love it. Definitely getting my attention, just like us here at MHI, saying Sean Payton is going to help this franchise tremendously. Even if it takes a while, trading for him will be worth it. Elliott, I hope you're right. I tend to agree with everything that you're saying right there. One thing's for sure. The Walton Penner ownership will spare no expense at getting this franchise back on track when you look at what they gave up for trading for Coach Sean Payton, what they gave up in free agency and getting these big money starters on the offensive line. Spent the most money, period, in the NFL free agency offseason. That's a huge indication right there that we're going to throw as many resources as we can at this team and try to do things the right way. It doesn't mean that it's going to solve problems, but it's a huge step in the right direction of building a culture, building a nucleus, having something that you can hang your hat on at the end of the day in the NFL.
And I really don't think it's going to take that long. I mean, you look at what he did to the Saints. They went 3-13 the year before he got there, and they were, I think, 10 or 11 wins the next season. So, I mean, a lot of that had to do with bringing a quality quarterback to kind of push that over the top. But he doesn't mess around. I mean, he's out there to win. His track record is he cares the most about winning, and that's what he does. So I wouldn't say it's going to take overly long for those wins to start coming in.
And it can't. I mean, the expectation is to win now. You're exactly right. I mean, I hope you're right, too, because I think it's going to be a quick turnaround. I get asked all the time. I'm sure you do, too. What's a successful season look like for the Broncos? And the fan of me wants to be like, oh, they're going to make the playoffs. Easy. Why? Because I believe in Sean Payton. Realistically, man, AFC West is loaded. I immediately just looked to the AFC West and I'm like, 3-3 in the AFC West to me is progress. I've said that on this show. It's not acceptable. It's not where you want to end your coaching career or expectations, but it's definitely a little bit of an improvement. And I think that you can sneak into the playoffs if you first do that in the division. GLP coming in real quick saying, I'm not saying VJ is going to be great, but let's get real. Sean Payton is running this show, and he makes average look great. If there was air horns, Gary, or if I could scream or curse, man, I would do it because that gives me goosebumps, man. We're talking about a Denver Nuggets team that's celebrating their first championship. The best basketball player on the planet doesn't like the spotlight. He makes average look great. He cares more about his teammates' success and happiness than he does for himself on the court. He just wants to do his job and then go home with his family and race horses and drink beer and just be one of the guys. I mean, that is truly one of these comparisons that you're trying to make. And certainly Sean Payton's making that, Gary. You know, Sean Payton's on the court watching all of this. Russell Wilson's out there watching all of it. I mean, you want to talk authentic, and is Russell Wilson a phony? The Joker, Nikola Jokic, is authentic as it gets, so much to the point that sometimes the media turns on him. They try to poke fun at him, right? He's a little goofy. He's himself, man. And if this team can create an identity and just be themselves, that is what makes greatness. And that's what inspires playoff runs and championships. And Gary, I'm really excited for the season, brother.
Yeah, I am too. I'm actually more optimistic than you are on the season if health holds, and that's what I keep saying. Health. Had they stayed healthy, they would have won more games, even under Nathaniel Hackett. Not that they're a playoff team or anything by that means, but it was so poorly run. But if they can stay healthy, they can keep their star, because there is talent on this team, and Sean Payton knows how to make those players play together with that talent. That's I think if they don't push for 10 wins, if they don't get to 10 wins, I think that's a disappointment. And I know that's a strong thing to say, but if you look at across the board on this team at every level, there's good players, and Sean Payton comes with a good pedigree, and Russell Wilson had a good pedigree. He needs to put all that together, and if he can't, then that's going to be a failure. And if he does put it together, that should equate to 10 wins.
You know what else has talent? My trash can full of all the ideas of things that I have that I end up trashing because I think they're great, just nobody else does. That's what you got to deal with in the NFL too, right? You got to be willing to put your ego aside, and you can be the most talented player in the world. Are you an effective teammate? Are you a guy that comes in and puts out every single day? Are you a good friend? I mean, I don't mean to get elementary here, but we're human beings. We thrive on energy. We thrive on relationships. Look at what's going on with the Buffalo Bills right now, right? They got some little mega meltdown with Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen and Sean Dermott. I'm just like, good God, that would mess. Happy that's not going on here. At least I don't think it is. If it was, we wouldn't even know about it because that building is locked down. James Richard has been in here. I love the Predator. It was actually the anniversary of the Predator yesterday when it came out. I think it was 25 years, maybe 30, something like that, right? 90s.
Gotta be closer to 30. You have 35.
Yeah, I'm a 90s baby, dude. So it's like one of my favorites. No, really?
I think it did. I'm looking it up right now.
Oh my God. Yeah. James Richard, thank you so much for the support, brother, and welcome to MHI. A not so bold prediction. We're talking records. Here's James's record. Broncos go 10-7/11-6. It'll be the run game and defense, however. Russell will be more like Russell. Let's say you. My first impression, James, you're like Tom. You like to hedge your bets. 10-7 or 11-6. Give me a final number, baby. I'm gonna go ahead and take the 10-7. I think that's a very realistic expectation, man. James, you're tired of being the butt of everyone's joke. All your other NFL fans see your Bronco jersey. It might be a Russ jersey, and they're making fun of you. I'm done with that. Russ is done with that. I don't know if you saw him at the Nuggets game. He's looking lean. He's looking good. I know. Don't judge a book by its cover. Could be a good one. Could be a bad one. Our guy Cecil Lammy asked about this today, James. Now is the perfect time to tie in this question. Cecil, off the top rope over there. I said there were two questions today, one from Mike Kliss, one from our guy Cecil Lammy, who was on this show a few weeks ago calling Marvin Mims the best wide receiver on this football team. Cecil dropping some heat today with Vance Joseph at the microphone, and he directly asked Vance Joseph, quote, "Does Russ still have it?" And Vance Joseph kind of pauses for a second, and he says, "We know what Russ can be. That's coach's job. That's between them. I faced him in the NFC West and could tell you that he's a winner." And it was a very humble, honest, restricted response, if you will. But that's the big question. Can Sean Payton fix Russ?
Yeah, absolutely. And Predator, 1987. I was right. Came out in 1987.
You got it, Tom.
Yeah.
Got him.
Yeah, so I'll just go ahead, getting that question right. I'm going to go with 10 wins. I'm going to say they're going 10-7. I'm not going to hedge my bets. I think they can get to 10 wins, and if they don't, it's going to be a disappointment because I do think Sean Payton can fix Russell Wilson. And the reason why I say that is because I know people have talked about Drew Brees, and some people are on the fence about Sean Payton made him a Hall of Famer. Some people say, "Oh, well, he went to a Pro Bowl." Well, he did. He was an okay quarterback before he went to a Pro Bowl. Sean Payton saw what he could do, and he created that offense for him. He saw that Drew Brees was a high percentage, high volume passer, and he went and did it. He's going to do the same thing with Russell Wilson. Not the same style of offense, but he knows what he can do, and he's going to go out there and create an offense. Not the one that they tried to create last year that they both thought they should do, but the real offense that he should be playing in, and he's going to step up, and that is going to create wins. Because Russell Wilson, if you take away last year, people would say he's a winner. He goes out and wins games. He's going to do it again, starting in 2023.
He's done it in dramatic fashion. Go look at Russell Wilson highlights. I know it's a "what have you done for me lately" league, but there's some mile-high magic attached to the Denver Broncos. Crazy things happen in this city, even on the road with these teams, man. And I do think Russell Wilson is going to have a revitalized portion of his career. Played like hell last year, period. Unacceptable. You don't think he knows that? You don't think he's made adjustments? He's trying to prepare himself mentally for changes. He's embracing it. You have to surrender to the process sometimes, guys. And I'm guilty of it as much as anybody else. I hate change. I'm very resistant to it. I like things to just be going in their flow. I like things to be scheduled. I like things to be ordered. And that's not life, man. We have to adapt and we have to overcome. It's okay to live with a little bit of uncomfortability and evolve. And that's the big theme with Sean Payton, guys. It's educating. He talks about it every single press conference. We have to give these guys resources. We have to teach each other. We have to compete. Otherwise, you get lost. You get archaic. The league passes you by. And that's exactly what you see. And that's why the expectations for this football team are so damn high. David coming back in again, baby. And $2 super. Thanks, David. And Sean Payton, we trust. I rest my case. And I think Broncos country definitely shares that and echoes that philosophy as well. I mean, Sean Payton is supposed to be the savior of this Denver Broncos franchise, and he damn well had better be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I keep going back to the thing, a good leader tells you what you need to do, even though it's not your what you want, right? A good leader will put you in position to succeed, even if you don't think that's the right position, right? Because Sean Payton's going to do that for Russell Wilson, right? He's a good
challenge
leader.
You.
Yep. He's going because last year, Nathaniel Hackett, it wasn't a good leader, and Russell Wilson wanted to do something. Nathaniel Hackett let him do it, even if he didn't think that he should have, right? He didn't have the leadership ability to say, "No, that's not you. We can't do that." Sean Payton's not going to do that. He's going to put Russell Wilson in this position to succeed. And that's why I trust Sean Payton. I have nothing against Sean Payton as the football coach at all. I mean, as a coach, he's proven to be good. So, it's, and again, he's going to keep those players around that buy into that philosophy. He's from Bill Parcells, that was the huge thing, right? Bill
Big
Parcells,
tuna, baby.
That's right. If you're not buying into the philosophy, you're gone. But the wins have to come soon. So that's why what he's got to do. He's got to get them to buy in. He's got to start winning, because once you start winning, then everything's going to kind of fall into place. So I think he's going to start winning right away. And I think people are already buying in. If not, they're unfortunately not on this team. And there's a few people that are going to be off the team that, maybe people don't like seeing gone.
Hold that thought for just a second, Thomas. I got to get to our guy, James Richard, who's coming in with a mega super. James, thank you so much. It's very generous of you. A huge $50 super chat on top of his previous super chats leading the evening tonight. Very, very kind, generous. Thank you so much, sir. I think Denver's defense took 12th place last year. What's overlooked is Denver's defense was on the field more than any other defense last year. Denver's defense was on the field for more than half the time and still was just outside of the top 10. That stat alone, it's crazy.
Yeah, and that's probably what led to a lot of the injuries. You know, they were out there playing constantly, and then they kept getting injured and injured. They were a top 3 defense until the injuries took its toll. And once you lose your talent, you're not going to do as well. It's just the way it is. Talent does have a lot of effect. I don't care how great your coaching is and everything else.
Yep.
If you don't have the talent
level,
yeah, you're not gonna get there. So from my perspective, you could be right. They could have gotten worn out, and that's injuries started to happen. Even though, I've done a study of, D's getting worn out is during game isn't really as true as people think it is based on the numbers, but bodies do wear out. Playing all the time will wear out bodies. And that could have led to some of those injuries, which dropped them down to 12th place when they should have been top 5 by the end of the season.
Well, to piggyback to what you're saying, Sean Payton came in here and got rid of the old and came in with the new. And what I'm talking about is the nutrition staff, training staff. There's a new way of doing things, and he's super excited to talk about it. If you want a really good answer from Sean Payton, talk about the weightlifting process, talk about the nutrition aspect. What are guys eating? Things like that, body calisthenics, movement, different exercises. It's super impressive to see that Sean Payton is always on forward thinking. I think that's something that he is very excited about. He is always wanting to learn the next thing and try to add a new wrinkle to his game, and it keeps him current. That's what's gotten him to this point and the success in his career. James, thank you so much, man. We're talking Vance Joseph, and you coming in talking about Denver's defense. I mean, that's another element that James is bringing up, and it's huge, James, and I salute you for bringing it up. There was a lot of success with Denver's defense last year, as injured as they were, as bewildered as they were, as frustrated as they were for being out there that long. I mean, Vance Joseph has a huge responsibility to not screw up the strength of that defense. He also has the ability to reconnect with guys like Josie Jewell, Justin Simmons, Kareem Jackson, who he coached in Houston. He called Kareem Jackson today. He's like, it's funny talking about Kareem. I used to coach him down in Houston, his second year in Houston. And he said, we used to call Kareem as a corner the little fat kid. And I was just like, Jesus, Vance, it's our first press conference back. Obviously feeling comfortable with K-Jack. And then he came back and he's like, K-Jack to be playing, at this stage in his career and at such a high level, very complimentary. But at the same time, I was like, dude, I don't think he's a fat kid at all. He's quarterback in the NFL. You go back and watch. I mean, he was more athletic and leaner and everything then, but he wasn't that fat kid. But still, BJ, man, with some of these quotes, dude, you just gotta love BJ back in the Mile High City.
Well, I got to tell you, all kidding aside about Vance Joseph and what he says and everything, but to think about what I'm going to judge his defense on as being a good defense, not necessarily if he winds up at 12th or 15th, somewhere in there, or 10th, that's an okay season with me. What has to happen though is more takeaways, and the defense has to make that stop when it counts. That's because if the offense is better, the opposing offense is going to take more risks, try and score more points. So you're going to see probably more yards given up, more points given up than last year. But do they make that play when it matters? And if they do that consistently, then I'll get on the Vance Joseph bandwagon. And that comes with creating turnovers.
You and String Guy both, man. I hear you, and you got to see results, right? It's like Shannon Sharp says all the time, who left Fox, by the way. Shocker. My eyes work better than my ears, and I hear you guys. You, String Guy, the rest of Broncos country. Patrick, I wanted to give you a shout out real quick, man. I saw you come in on the chat. First time on YouTube and getting in the live chat. Aloha from Hawaii. Patrick, thank you so much, man. We try to give as many shout outs as we can, because the most valuable thing that we have on this planet in this life is time. And you guys are rocking with us, finishing up MHI here on the Wednesday night. James coming back again, dude. Heavyweight hitter, James the Predator Richard. I probably shouldn't say it that way. It doesn't sound too good. Well, we'll clean that up, James. I got to come up with a different name, because The Predator is one of my favorite movies. Carl Weathers is one of my favorite actors.
Oh, really?
Yeah, dude. Carl, come on, man. Carl Weathers also in Happy Gilmore. Chubbs Peterson, dude.
Death Hunt,
come on, man. A 90s baby again, dude.
You gotta watch Death Hunt then if you love
I've
Carl
seen
Weathers.
Yeah,
it's so good.
And Rocky. He's
Hunt's
Apollo Creed. He's
Death
Apollo
Hunt's his best
Creed,
movie.
man. How can you not hate on Carl Weathers? Maybe I got to
I
call
love
James.
Carl Weathers. I just was surprised to hear you say that he's one of your favorite actors. I love Carl Weathers. Death Hunt, he was incredible in.
He's the 90s cheesy actor that everyone loved, man, that was on
Action
roids and
Jackson.
juiced up. And yeah, exactly. James, maybe I'm going to call you Apollo. Maybe we'll do an Apollo nickname for James. I don't know, man. Huge heavy hitter. Thanks for the support, brother. If Russell, Judy, and Mims can keep that defense with stamina, look out. So James talking about, if this offense is supposed to be all it's made out to be, these wide receivers are supposed to be it, Russ is supposed to be it, the defense is supposed to be getting some support, and that's huge. Just like James coming in again, back-to-back fives. James, thank you. Absolutely huge. Saying we even lost almost a handful of games by 7 points or less. All we need is an average offense, because this Broncos defense is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's not always a harbinger for the next season, losing by a few scores or less. It does a little bit. I did a study on it last year, I guess. So I'll have to dig it back up. But, you've got a good point. They were close. And, if you had an offense that could hold up their weight, they probably would have won more games last year. So you kind of hitting the nail on the head. Hopefully this defense is as good as last year and stays healthy.
Boom. Clayton coming in with last minute Facebook love. Thanks so much, Clayton. Evening, guys. Been working a ton of hours. Smash that like button and share. Going on vacation. Going to Florida again, man. Have a great vacation. Everybody, dude. Enjoy your summer plans. We're in the middle of summer. Training camps around the corner, but be sure to make time with your friends, your family. Michael's definitely echoing that in the chat as well. I mean, friends, family, so important. I mean, we only get one life, and we appreciate you guys rocking with us tonight. James, you're a heavy hitter. We absolutely appreciate it. If you would like to get at Tom on Twitter, that's at Thomas Hall NFL. Yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Head on over to the mothership on Twitter. That's at Mile High Huddle. If you'd like to grab yourself a hat, shirt, coffee mug, gift for a friend, a birthday, whatever, mhhmerch.com. Get your swag on, grab yourself some MHI gear. You're going to go ahead and catch Thomas on Friday for Legends of Mile High. Then you'll catch him again back-to-back Friday and Saturday night, him and Ron and White, orange and blue. That's going to be coming at you at 6 p.m. Mountain. Fun show, man. It always goes by so fast, and the chat was absolutely rocking tonight. It's one of my favorite things to see new people come in and sound off. Don't be nervous. We're not one of those shows that attacks people. We're not one of those shows that can't agree with each other, so we're just going to be mad. That's not us. We want to welcome you. We want to welcome your opinion. That grows Broncos country. That gives us the energy that we need for football in the Mile High City. So thanks a lot, Tom, man. A great show.
Thank you. Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and like I always say, you may be afraid to ask a question because for whatever reason, we all learn from it. We're here talking. We learn from your comments, so please jump in the chat, and we love hearing from you. But
none of us claim to be an expert, right? We do our best with what we've got, and what we've got is you, and you guys absolutely rock our show. If you're too shy, you're a little nervous, like Tom said, reach out to us directly on Twitter, man. We respond to every message that comes to us. I know Tom does. I do. Scott does. Chad does. A lot of us do here at MHH. Thomas is at Thomas Hall NFL. Again, yours truly at Luke Patterson LP. Broncos country, stay tuned. Good things are coming. This is the way.
This is the way.